Okay, how's everybody doing this evening? December 4th, 2024 in Carlsbad, California. And I want to talk tonight about what a job is, definition of a job, and why nobody wants one. Because I think this is an issue that we all deal with, we all struggle with, and it's something that is just doesn't add up in today's world. So in its simplest terms, simplest form, a job is just trading your time for money, just like these people in this restaurant that I'm looking at. There's bartenders behind the counter over there across the street. Let me walk over there so you can take a look at them. And they are trading their time for money. So, you're real limited in how much of you can give for the amount of money that you make. And we're in a time and a place with things as expensive as they are, that there's only one of you, and you just cannot divide yourself up divide yourself up in a way that you can make enough money to live on by your time. It just doesn't work. Hasn't worked for a long time. Hasn't worked in my lifetime. And I'm almost 65 years old. There you go. You got some bartenders over here across the street working. So that's really what a job is. Job is just trading your time for money, which doesn't work, doesn't make any sense. And the reason is because there's no way that you can give enough of your time to make enough money unless you're making some extraordinary amount of money because you have some skill that nobody else has. And maybe a really unique skill that you have nobody else has, then maybe you can trade your time for a little bit of money. But by and large, it doesn't work, especially where I'm at filming this video. I'm in Southern California. Rents are $3,000, $4,000 a month. Everything's very expensive. If you're making, let's just say you're making $5,000, $6,000 a month, you can't afford it. You can't afford to make $5,000 or $6,000 a month where I'm living and have any kind of quality of life. It doesn't exist. So that's why you don't want a job, because you can't have one. You can't afford to have a job. But yet it's something that we all just think, hey, we got to have a job. We get a job and then our whole world magically becomes better. There's this guy, I used to listen to him on the radio before it got to be so obnoxious, by the name of Dave Ramsey. I mean, he was terrible back when I used to listen to him. Worst advice I've ever heard in my life comes from Dave Ramsey. And I think he's been sued a number of times for all the things that he's done, but he's certainly anybody I respect. But anyway, he used to have a call-in show, help people with their finances, and his main solution for years, back before they had a lot of people on the internet, you could find alternative people, but he just kind of by default got to be somebody that people would listen to. And his whole advice for years and years and years was simply get a job, get 2 jobs, get 3 jobs, and pay off all your debt. That's the way everybody called in. I don't care what your financial issue was. You got to get out of your debt, and you got to get 3 or 4 jobs. So just work yourself to death, spend all your time working someplace, and then take all the money and pay off all your debt. And don't ever do anything else. That was pretty much the guy's advice, which was horrible advice, because it doesn't work. It hasn't worked for a long, long time. And a lot of people, their whole identity is tied up in what job they have or what job they're going to get or how they're going to make themselves so that they're people want to hire them. So in other words, go back to school, get some more education, get yourself another degree so I can get a better job. And people need to stop thinking like that, because that thinking isn't working. It doesn't work today. And as usual, trains are going through. So the only way to make it in this world is you have to find a way. And people should say, hey, instead of saying, hey, what kind of job do you have? People should say, how do you make your money? Because if you say, how do you make your money, it's a whole different question than, what's your job? What kind of job do you do? Because if you ask people how they make their money, that could be anything. If you ask them if they have a job, that means primarily they're working for somebody else, which doesn't work, hasn't worked for years. So the only way people make money in this world, in today's world, is you have to have some way of creating enough activity and having that activity to be able to be spread out so you can make money from just like what I'm doing this evening. I'm making a video. So this video goes up on the internet. If I had a large channel of people watching this video, it'd make probably good money. I mean, obviously I don't have the big, large channel like a lot of people, but that gives you an opportunity to use your time so that your time can be utilized in such a way that you can make a lot of money, not from my time where I'm standing here on the street, but over the years and months and however much time people will watch this video. So you have to do things like that. You have to make money in a ways that you can create activities that continue to make money, make residual money, and not just a one-time I get a paycheck. So yeah, this is something huge, and you need to create activities like that. That's the only way it's going to work. And that's why I'm really concerned about everybody having so much faith in Trump when he says he wants to bring jobs back to America. And that's fine, Donald Trump, bringing jobs back into America. But the problem is, are those jobs ever going to take care of people and give us the style of life that most of us want to have in order to live in this world? I don't think they will. And this is coming on us very quickly. Trump will be off this very, very soon. So the job thing is a real problem, and people lose their identity. They lose their feeling good about themselves when they just don't have a job or can't find a job that meets what it is that they need to live on. So hopefully that continues to progress and people start to realize, yeah, you got to do something besides just work for somebody else. That isn't working. Not to use that pun, but that's not working. You know, my mom used to have two sayings she used to tell me. One of the things is everybody needs a place to live, meaning you got to find a way to own your own property. Can't rent, because that's not going to work out, and that doesn't work out very well here in Southern California. And the second thing she used to tell me is you never get ahead working for the other guy. And that was two pretty good pieces of advice my mom gave me. You can't work for somebody else, and you better own your own property if you want to continue to have a place to live. Because people in Southern California are literally being forced out of having a place to live just by how expensive it is, because wages don't keep up with rents. You know, wages are the very last thing to jump when things go up in price. The wages are the very last thing, and it makes sense. Because like Donald Trump right now, what he's trying to do now is he says he's going to create tariffs. Everybody's talking about tariffs, which is going to raise the price of everything that gets brought in from another country. And Trump claims the other countries are going to be paying that tariff. But inevitably, it's going to be passed on to the consumer. And everybody's been warning him of that. Hey, the consumer. Now, if he's doing this just as saber rattling, and he just wants to scare these countries into getting better deals with them, that's a pretty decent tactic. But if he actually thinks he's going to follow through with this stuff and make the countries pay for it, they're just going to make it more expensive. The people that buy it here in this country, it's going to be more expensive, and that's going to create an incredible inflation rate. And you're seeing that right now. Bitcoin's not going over $100,000. In fact, I just looked at Bitcoin's $102,000 right now. It's not going up those levels if there's not some anticipation of massive inflation in this country. And that's what you're going to see. You're going to continue to see that. So the great equalizer in this country right now isn't having a good job. The great equalizer is being able to invest in Bitcoin. I mean, the younger generations certainly have a challenge in trying to find a way to create a living in this world. But they also have the advantage of having a vehicle like Bitcoin, something I didn't have growing up, and a lot of people didn't. Just the most recent generations have had the opportunity to put money in Bitcoin. And you don't have to put massive amounts of money in Bitcoin. Small amounts of money. I mean, Bitcoin was $60,000 a few weeks ago. Now it's $102,000. Just $10,000, $15,000 in Bitcoin can make a major shift for you with those kinds of appreciations. So yeah, we're going into some very difficult, rough times. I don't anticipate that what Trump is doing is going to work. It's going to blow up in his face, and we're going to have some people that are really going to struggle. It's because what happens is the prices go up on everything, and people can't afford it. It's just going to squeeze more and more people into not out of the middle class and in the class of being poor. And that's where we're going. There's going to be a massive amount of people being shifted to the poor. And it's going to be harder and harder for people to make a living, especially with the prices of things going up and the inability for wages to keep up with that. So yeah, that's where we're going. We're going into massive inflation and no way to pay for the things that we need every day to live with, or live the houses, groceries, gasoline, all these things. We won't be able to afford it. And inevitably, probably what's going to happen with the Trump administration is they're going to have to make some decisions, whether this is going to be, right now that's his whole play. I'm just going to raise tariff. I'm going to raise massive amounts of money through tariffs. I'm going to get rid of all these federal agencies. I have the idea of getting rid of the federal agencies. I agree with that one. That would be my first move too, get rid of a bunch of these federal agencies that do nothing, just create more bureaucracy and make things more expensive. But adding money to the Treasury by creating tariffs doing massive amounts of tariffs, that's going to create a massive amount of inflation, and then it's going to be very, very hard for people. When a company has to charge more for their product, now how do they pay more for their workers, so the workers can afford to live in that environment of having these tariffs? So it's probably not going to work. I don't know if he backs off on it after a while, or he just sends the economy into a tailspin. We could just go into some sort of hyperinflation mode, and things could just get really ugly, and we could all be struggling. Even people that seem today would be well off could be struggling very soon. This could be just a big mess, massive mess. So that's where we're at today, and that's what I fear may be happening in a very few months, Trump coming to office. So yeah, I wanted to make this video tonight because I did see Bitcoin go over $100,000. They say once it goes 100, it may end up 120, 130,000. I'm no doubt that it go that high. I would like to see it go that high. At some point we're going to have a pullback, but I don't think we're pulling back very far. Maybe in the 70s or 80s. If it gets up very much over 100,000, I probably see this with Bitcoin. And I've been watching Bitcoin every day for probably the last 10 years. Almost 10 years. Probably watch at least the last 5 years. There's not been a day go by that I haven't looked at the Bitcoin price in the last 5 years. Not even one day. Of course, it's easy to do because it's on all my devices. Open my phone, I got Bitcoin price. I open my computer, I got Bitcoin price. So I got the Bitcoin price everywhere. But I've been watching this for a long time. Bitcoin's very predictable. It's the most predictable. I used to be a stockbroker. Bitcoin is the most predictable thing I've ever seen, as far as being able to pick when it's going up and when it's going down. I mean, when you knew when the ETFs were being approved, it was going to go up. When it's a halving, or it's going to go up. Right now, you see it going up, it's going to go up. But what Bitcoin will do is it'll probably run up, and my guess would be about 140, 150 before we start to see much of a pullback. So I'd say 140, 150, and then I'd say it probably come back to like 100. So I think anybody buying in around $100,000 is going to be safe for a long time. I think 100 will keep you in the money for a long period of time. In fact, I think 120, 130 will keep you in the money for quite a while. It won't pull back much below that. So, that's what I say. And like I say, the great equalizer. Quit calling it Bitcoin and call it the great equalizer, because that's what it does. It equalizes people that don't have wealth with those that do have wealth. You're able to keep ahead of everything. And there will be a point where you're going to sit there. And if you're running a little business, you're going to say, why am I continuing to struggle and buy and keep this little business? Because I've been in this position where you're trying to rob Peter to pay Paul to keep your business going. The business doesn't make a lot of money. Yeah, you skim a little bit of an existence off of it. You pay a few bills, and this is farming for you. Where you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're paying fertilizer and chemical bills, but you're not paying this. You're not paying that. You put things off that you don't need to pay, and then pay for the things you do need to pay. The things you gotta pay in order to stay in business, which is feed and fertilizer and all the other stuff. Feed for your animals and fertilizers and chemicals and fuel. And then you put off the stuff you don't have to pay, maybe buying new equipment or stuff like that. You can put that on hold. There's going to be a day where people are going to say, hey, I don't need to do this, struggle my business like I'm doing. I'll do better off if I just buy Bitcoin and watch that thing appreciate. It's going to appreciate. I mean, there have been years when I was farming that I didn't make a 1 or 2% profit. And there's a lot of years I made a negative profit. I mean, I lost money. Doesn't take you to be too smart to figure out, hey, if I bought Bitcoin at 60,000 and it runs up to 120 or 130, my money would have been better off in Bitcoin than buying fertilizer and chemicals and seed and throw it in the ground and hoping I get a good year this year, hoping we don't get frost, hoping we don't get freeze, hoping that the price of commodities goes up, hoping the world, the world stays stable enough to where I can sell my soybeans or my corn and make enough money where I can pay for my bills. And it doesn't take long before people start to figure out, I don't need all that headache. Just throw it into Bitcoin and forget it. I mean, that's what Michael Saylor's done. He threw it into Bitcoin and forgot it. And that's what everybody else is going to do here pretty quick. So don't fool yourself. Michael Saylor's plan isn't something that he didn't come about without a little bit of thought and thinking. And I think that's probably the strategy a lot of people will play, is buy Bitcoin and just hold on. Watch it go up, watch it go down, but as long as you got enough money in Bitcoin for a long enough period of time, you're going to be all right. And I think that's what's happening. So let me flip this camera around so I can say goodbye to everybody. And hopefully make a video sometime in the near future. So anyway, I appreciate everybody watching. I'll hopefully have another video tomorrow, and hopefully it probably keeps going up.